So welcome to Northern Powerhouses, our business success stories series of interviews where we discuss with local business leaders, their backgrounds, their successes and their challenges and what's really driving them forwards. And today I'm delighted to have with us Chris Baillie, who's the director at Swarthmore Education Centre. So Chris, firstly, welcome and thank you for spending the time with us. And if you'd like to explain to the audience who you are and what you do and how you help people, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, I'd like to say I'm Chris Baillie. I'm the director at Swarthmore Education Centre, which is a charity based in Leeds, just on the edge of the city centre. So we're kind of on Woodhouse Square, just around the corner from the LGI. It's an adult education centre, and we've been around since 1909. So I feel like I've been here since 1909. I've been here almost 3 years. It's bbeen a difficult 3 years, I have to say. And we've got a range of courses, programmes for people. So we do things from English, maths, ESOL classes, right through to arts courses, so jewellery, pottery, fused glass. And we've got a big study programme for young people with additional educational needs, 16 to 25, based at the centre as well. So we've got room hire, we've got a small cafe at the centre. So it's nice to get the place back open again as well this year. After COVID, so it's been nice getting the trickle of people back through again.
Yeah, were you sort of completely shut down, or did you manage to get some things done during lockdown?
We moved. The centre had never done anything at all online. I started in the November, and we locked down in March. So I just about found where my office was in the centre before we went into lockdown, and people didn't even fill in the timesheets or anything online. So it was a major challenge. So we moved everything for the adult education side online and kind of trialled it a little bit. From June, we closed down in March. I'd never even heard of Google Classroom up until that point. We went hell for leather, managed to get a Google Classroom, Google platform set up, and we delivered our first classes online in June, which is remarkable.
Well done.
We closed down on the 20th, I think it was, of March. So we delivered some classes throughout that end of that term. And then it's really hard to kind of remember in it because it's all a bit of a blur, is COVID. We were back in, we were out, we're back in. All of us adult education stayed online for the whole of the following year.
Brilliant. And
we prioritised getting the young people in for the study programme. We made it a safe bubble in the centre. We kind of extended the rooms that they were using to make sure that people were as safe as possible. But then there was we were closed, we were open, we were closed, we were open. You could go out, you couldn't go out. So everybody were affected by that. But education apparently wasn't as affected as everybody else. So it was like that education can come back, everybody else has to stay at home. So it's been a difficult few years.
Yes, I can absolutely imagine, and it's great to see that you transformed so quickly, and B, that things are they're back on track again, which is wonderful news.
Absolutely.
So, could you tell us a little bit about your background, how you came to be at the education centre?
Yeah, crikey. Well, I worked in Bradford before working here. So I worked at a charity in Bradford that then got took over by Bradford College. I worked at Leeds City College before that, kind of being education manager. I was a teacher and an assessor before that, but I worked in mental health most of the time prior to that. So worked in mental health for up to 20 years, it's around about 20 years or something. So I never really saw myself getting into education. I just started managing a project and then trained to be an assessor because we couldn't get an assessor, so I did it, and then we ran a little project. Then Thomas Danby at the time took me on to do some of the training for them, and then it just kind of snowballed really. Got a degree when I was 40, got my PGCE pretty much straight afterwards, and just stayed in education. I think for me, I like being at a small education centre rather than the big, I know there's a place for the big colleges, but it's nice being at a small, friendlier, kind of more accessible place for people. So it's been a bit of a journey. I trained to be a bricklayer at one point as well, so I've done quite a few.
Oh my goodness, that's wonderful.
Yeah, so quite a journey. So it wasn't do you know what, I'll be director of Swarthmore Education Centre. It was quite a wavy path to get here.
So I'm guessing this wasn't necessarily what you planned to be when you were smaller growing up. What were your plans then?
Do you know, I didn't really have any. I left school with no qualifications. So when you're 16, you just think you know everything, don't you? I'm like, I don't need O levels. So I left school and started working in a factory down the road, and within about 2 weeks just thought, no, this isn't for me. Didn't really go back into education until I went to a community centre and did an O level in sociology. And I thought if I passed that, I might go to college. So I went to college, did a couple of A levels, and yeah, never really knew what I wanted to do. We didn't even have a sixth form at my school. So even if I'd have got O levels, I always think, well, I wouldn't have even known how to get A levels. And university, I'm from a council estate in South Leeds. University wasn't really an option for us. So never really knew what I wanted to do, to be honest. I've done, like I said, I've done a range of jobs, worked in bars, worked in shops, offices, that kind of thing. And then yeah, did a bricklaying course, started working in mental health by chance, loved it, really loved it. Stayed for a long time, then just dropped into education, really. So I still don't know what I want to do.
When you grow up, absolutely.
When I grow up, yeah.
Well, do you know what? I think it's like, that's great, isn't it? So, you know, just keep learning and doing and changing, and that's great. Some people are really clear on what they want to, what you know, where they want to go, and that's great. But other people aren't. And I think it's great. Yeah, that's absolutely wonderful.
And I think you get something from each of the jobs that you do as well. I think, you know, I've enjoyed most of the jobs that I've done along the way, and you kind of get that life experience. It's quite valuable, isn't it, as you get through life. Doing a degree when I was 40 was great. You just think, well, I wouldn't have done it when I was 18, but actually as an adult, I really enjoyed doing a degree as an adult.
Yes, I can imagine. I mean, I did mine in my early teens and 20s, and I you know, I'd be perfectly frank, I don't think I got the best benefit from the learning of it. I didn't particularly go to college to learn that much. I just wanted to have a good time. And you know, and so you know, having the ability to do it later on in life, I think, is absolutely bang on when we really you know, value what we're learning, and I think that's wonderful. So obviously you mentioned lockdown and COVID have been you know, quite a significant challenge, but alongside that as well, is that what other things have been some of your significant challenges you've had to overcome?
I suppose it is that, really, just COVID. I mean, I started, like I said, started this job in the November. I've not even found my way around the building. I still get lost in the place even now. It's quite a rabbit warren of a place. So I've not met a lot of the staff. It was, you know, I had a week's holiday, Christmas came around. By January, February, we were starting to see COVID kind of taking hold a little bit. And then it was just, we were all out and working from home. And that was probably one of the biggest challenges for me. I hated working from home, absolutely hated it. Just had both my daughters there, just, you know, sharing the space, and work took over my whole life. I didn't have that kind of cut off between work and home life at all. So I just found the whole of COVID a mass. I mean, we got through it and we did really well as it, you know, as the team who continued working. It's certainly the thing, as I'm not sailing this ship alone by any means. We've got a really good team of people. But it was a massive challenge for somewhere that had never done anything online. You know, the funding kind of went. I've never even heard of furlough before, and I did about 20 webinars a week in the first few weeks of going into lockdown, because we were like that. What the hell is it? And what kind of kept us going, and just kind of learning on his feet really is the best way to kind of manage the organisation. But it was a massive challenge, not just for us. I mean, I know that, you know, a lot of charities went under during that time. Just couldn't cope with it. So I'm really proud of the resilience of Swarthmore. I'm glad I'm not the director that kind of saw the end of it, you know, through COVID. We've managed to kind of keep going and come back, but it's certainly been a challenge for everybody.
Brilliant. And I can see how much a challenge it would be in general, but you know, for you especially. And what would you say you've learned, not just Swarthmore, but through your career, about business organizations, growing teams, those sorts of things? What were the biggest things you've learned yourself?
I think in terms of teams, it's just kind of the biggest thing is maintaining a sense of humour, to be honest, and building a team that genuinely looks after one another has been a big thing for me. You know, you really do that, winning hearts and minds of people. Once you've got that, always said, you know, in places I've managed, you get the right people on the bus going in the right direction, you know, there's a party at the end of it kind of thing. But that's really important, kind of making sure that people are, I'm not saying work's happy all the time, but you want people to be happy to come to work. So don't, and I think that COVID has kind of brought us together a bit more as a team, and that kind of resilience. I think that organisations like ours have shown amazing resilience, you know, through COVID. So I think it's that trying to lead from the front as well. You know, I always say to people, if the toilet's blocked, I don't mind going and cleaning it out. I know, you know, if there's nobody else to do it. And I kind of hope that the team across the organisation are the same. Everybody's pulling in the right direction. So it's it's been a difficult time. It's that thing about looking after one another and having that human, you know, a bit more of a human approach to kind of managing a team.
Yes.
So, but yeah, it's been the biggest challenge for everybody, I think.
Yes.
Trying to kind of keep together, trying to move in the same direction. It certainly gave us a focus. I'll say.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I mean, we have seen, you know, there have been some positives come out of it. It didn't feel like it at the time, and you know, but you know, the ability to work remotely when it's useful is what I mean. You know, people don't really, you know, rarely want to do that in general, but the ability to go, well, actually, I can't be here right now, but I can still do the work or still have that meeting. And, you know, and so many, there are some benefits, obviously. It's not something I don't think anyone would wish to go through again. But, and it's funny, you mentioned the right people, on the right seats, the right bus. I always say that, you know, our job as leaders is, you know, there's the destination on the front of the bus, and we've got to be clear what that is. Otherwise it's going to be perceived as magical mystery tour, which some people might like, but they're not necessarily the people that are actually going to help us get where we want to go. So that's good. It's great to see on your website you're clear on your mission and your vision, and you know, and that's what allows people to decide is the bus I want to get onto. So
it did feel a bit like the mystery bus out of Scooby-Doo at one point, though.
Absolutely. Well, now, what was that called? That wasn't the Mean Machine. It was.
Was it called the mystery van or the mystery bus or something? Oh, I'll have to Google it after now.
Me too. Me too. I'll definitely. I'll probably remember it in a second. But it was definitely something like that.
Yeah.
And you're probably aware we're a coaching organisation, and I'm keen to know who the best coaches you may have worked with, whether that's in business, in sport, in life in general.
I think probably my old manager when I worked at Thomas Danby, Leslie. I never wanted to be a manager. I started there and I was running a project, and somebody left who was the manager of the apprenticeship team at the time, and everybody in the office was like, oh God, I don't want that. And Leslie had called me to say, you know, can you come over? And I remember going in just going, if you're going to offer me the job, Leslie, I don't want it. But she was great, really, really good, really positive. Had that nice balance between kind of sharing things from her own life and her own experience. That kind of the leadership skills of making sure that you saw that you did have potential. I still keep in touch with her as well, making sure you did have potential to kind of, you know, to move on and do things. That was my first management job that I got from there. So, and I think it was, I always say I kind of based myself a little bit on her approach. I just thought she always had a really nice approach and an open door. You could go in and talk to her about anything. Didn't kind of, never looked harassed or flapped about anything. You know, sometimes you kind of come to work and just think, oh my God, I've got so much to do. Never gave the impression that she was like, didn't have time for anybody. So that's a really nice skill to have, and was always there to kind of churn through ideas. Which I think is really important. You go, and sometimes you've got the answer yourself by the end of it. You just want somebody to kind of listen through what you're saying.
Yes. Yeah, no, that absolutely brilliant. And it's as you say, it's modelling and taking things from different people that's really valuable. And have you, whether it's in that environment or anywhere else, have you developed any key sayings or quotes that you use on a regular basis that you fall back on a regular basis as a leader?
My favourite saying's always been better to die on your feet than live on your knees, which is Emiliano. I never know how to say his surname. He's a Zapata, Mexican revolutionary. I always like that. It's like
brilliant, love it.
Yeah, bit of a family motto. It's just sometimes you just have to keep fighting what you believe in, don't you?
Yes.
So
Yeah, and keep going. It's sometimes you need to just keep going, isn't it? It's there's a great quote from Winston Churchill that says, if you find yourself going through hell, keep going.
I was like the one, if you find yourself at the bottom of the hole, stop digging.
Stop digging, absolutely.
Maybe the opposite end of the spectrum.
Brilliant. And what would you say, Chris, you've learned about yourself over your career?
Probably that I'm a people person. After the past few years, it's definitely need people around. I think I'm probably more resilient than I thought I was at the start, and I think again the last few years has kind of taught us that. That success for me is always a team and an organisation success. It's, I like to kind of celebrate the success of the organisation things. It's not just, you're not just one person. I don't like that when managers kind of take on something's happened and it's me that did that. It generally isn't you that did that. It's taking a team of people to do that. So I think I've learned just having the right people around you, really, whether that's in your personal life or in work life, is key.
I think that's a very common thing. From speaking to so many people in business, doing these interviews, and with what I do in the day job, having the right people around you is absolutely key, and finding the right people to do the right thing. So we're not trying to strengthen our weaknesses. We'll find other people that can strengthen those weaknesses, and it just makes so much sense, and it just makes life happier and easier too, doesn't it? Really.
Yeah, and you need to be confident enough to kind of think, well, you've got a team, and I've got a team of managers, and if we all thought the same, there'd be no point in having so many managers, would there? So I kind of like the idea. We kind of, people bring ideas, we share. We might start off thinking this is a good idea and end up the complete opposite after the discussion because people have kind of chipped in. So that not having such an ego that you think I know all the answers, things quite key, I think, in a role like this particularly.
Absolutely. No, that makes a lot of sense. And looking forward, obviously you've been through some really challenging times, but hopefully the future looks brighter. What does the future look like for you guys, and what are the main challenges you might face, if any?
Well, funding's always a key challenge. So trying to find additional pots of money, trying to kind of maximise contracts that we've got. People are slowly kind of come back into the centre, but again, with the cost of living crisis at the moment, leisure courses are not always a priority for people. So trying to, at the moment, trying to find some extra pots of money that we can offer some free programmes for people. I guess the challenge is really trying to find new ways and exciting ways to kind of bring income into the centre while still offering the kind of more traditional, I guess, courses that Swarthmore are able to offer people, and trying to kind of build that people coming, not only having the confidence to come back in, having the money to come back in. We found that like the start of term last year, we still had a lot of courses online. And we've moved away from that as more and more people are wanting to come into the centre now. Online seems to be, people are a bit like seeing that, done it, kind of don't really want to go back to that. So then it's trying to kind of build up things like building up, we've got room hire here that brings in a bit of money for the centre, trying to think of different projects that we want to kind of be involved in, and maybe making some partnerships with other organisations and charities to move forward. It's always a challenge, and I think it's that, for me, it's kind of taught us as well that we need to be flexible. So, it's nice having a strategy, but I'm always like, I kind of like to go off piste a little bit. If there's something over there that's available, let's just grab it with both hands and see what we can do with it.
Right.
So at the moment, just trying to see what else we can kind of grab really and bring into the centre. So we keep going for hopefully another 113 years, I think it is now.
Well, amazing. It's amazing that track record for such a long time.
Yeah.
And looking backwards, is there anything that you do differently over the last few years?
I probably wouldn't have applied for a job just before going into a pandemic. Anything we'd have done differently? I'm not sure really. I think, well, personally, I think I'd have tried to be a bit more rigid with myself around working from home. My working from home, I lifted the laptop lid at 7 o'clock in the morning and it was open until sometimes 9 o'clock at night. The sun was shining outside and I don't think I saw any of the sun because it was just relentless. I had friends saying to me, you need to have the same work pattern that you would have if you were coming to work. So
Yes.
you know, try not to keep the laptop lid open, close it at 5 o'clock or whatever time, and be a bit stricter with yourself. So I wish I'd have done that because I don't think people at the time realised how exhausting that is. You know, and a lot of particularly the management team were the same. It would be you're working from home, that kind of cut-off point between work and home life just didn't really happen, really. So I think that was kind of looking back at, it's nice to say, looking back, I wish I'd have done that, but I've kind of say that to people. And that's the thing for me, working from home as well. I think if you're working from home, I didn't have the luxury of having an office. I was working in the kitchen as well. I think if you're working from home, still having that, you know, you're working from 9 till 5. You need to work from 9 till 5. You need to take a proper lunch break. There's reasons why we have lunch breaks and tea breaks and things. You can't, physically and mentally, you can't keep going for that amount of time. And I think that's important for everybody, really, kind of looking after your own well-being whilst trying to look after everybody else's as well.
That makes perfect sense. And finally, if what would be the best advice you could give an 18-year-old you if you're able to go back in time and do so?
Crikey. Don't know, probably just to enjoy every opportunity and to grab that. I mean, I've kind of grabbed most opportunities that have come up, and like I said, a little bit of a pathway, but to try and enjoy them, because you do learn something from each of the opportunities that you've got. There's a lot of things that I'd tell my 18-year-old self not to do. Yeah, kind of looking back, just thinking, oh, you don't want to do that. But yeah, I'd kind of just say, just try and enjoy the ride. And I tend to say to people as well, I mean, both my youngest daughter's at university at the moment, and my oldest daughter went to university, and that's, you know, that's great, and it was the kind of right time. But to really reinforce the idea that actually education is really important, but it's not just a snapshot until you're 21. It's, you know, you should be learning throughout the whole of your life. This is a lifelong learning centre. So, you know, saying to young people who maybe don't get the grades and things, it's not the end of the world. Opportunities can arise and do arise for people. So, which is hard at the moment. We're just waiting for the GCSE results to come out tomorrow. So there'll be a lot of very anxious 16-year-olds who are kind of poo-pooing what I'm saying at the moment. It's kind of seems the biggest thing in the world, doesn't it? But
absolutely. And I mean, absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for your thoughts. If anyone would like to get in touch or learn more about the centre, what's the best way to do so, Chris?
You can go on the website, which is swarthmore.org.uk. You can call us. It's I always get caught up for not knowing the phone numbers whenever I work, but it's 0113 243 2210. You can email us at info@swarthmore.org.uk. You can pop in. We're open all the time. We don't close during the summer, so pop in and see us. If you visit the website, all the courses and all the information's on there. So, and it's a very welcoming centre. We do welcome everybody into the centre.
Lovely. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much. We wish you best of luck. It seems like you've come through quite a lot of challenges, and you know, to be on the other side looking looking forward is a great place to be. So thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you.